Today we're going to change the O2 sensor on a 2008 Jeep Patriot. This particular car has the 2.4 four-cylinder engine in it with the towing package. If you look down in the middle here, you can see the exhaust with the oxygen sensor pointed up to the 1 o'clock position in the center of the screen. Notice that the O2 sensor looks kind of like a spark plug with a cable going off to the white electrical adapter. To start with, you're going to need your oxygen sensors, using two premium oxygen sensors from Bosch. They're about $25 a piece. You can get them at O'Reilly's or Advance or AutoZone. This is what it looks like. Basically, it looks like a spark plug with a cable that's going to attach to the sensor. The two sensors, in this case the vehicle has two sensors, are like spark plugs. Counterclockwise, lefty-loosey, clockwise, righty-tighty should apply. The problem is that the car has 100,000 miles or so, and it was almost as if they were fused or soldered to the manifold. So the original plan to use the 17-inch cheater bar had some problems. When you look down into the bay, you can't get the 17-inch cheater bar with the right angle to open it up, to loosen it up. So what you had to do was go to a smaller wrench. In this case, I used a 3/8-inch wrench, and I grabbed the cheater bar that happened to fit it, and I used that along with the 7/8-inch socket to get enough grip on it. Get a second socket, which has got a tighter, you can see that groove is a lot thinner. As a result, when you look in it, you have almost a complete hex signature on the socket. So I used this socket along with the 3/8-inch wrench and a cheater bar to complete the removal of the O2 sensor. There in the lower left there is the catalytic converter and exhaust manifold, and sticking straight up toward the center with the wire coming out is the O2 sensor. I'm going to put my little mat over here to kind of cover up the engine so I don't do anything stupid, drop anything in it. And then I'm going to proceed to get my wrench in position and break that loose. Now from here, I used the socket to place the socket on after we removed the connector. So using my thumb, press here and gently pull until it's released. This cable will have to flex long enough or out of the way so that you can put the socket down around the sensor. I'm going to set this up so that it's for loosening. And then I'm going to release it by doing counterclockwise, lefty-loosey. Now this is pretty tight. Even having been broken loose before, I'm going to use my cheater bar. See that it doesn't take much. The first time I did this, I weigh 195 pounds, and I had to really struggle and strain to get it loose. Once it's been broken loose, you may have to use your ratchet. You may be able to pull it off and kind of de-thread, keeping the cable out of the way. At some point, you should be able to break the socket free and spin it out. And now you have it removed. This is the new one. I'm reinstalling it because I was testing it earlier. And you simply put the new one back in, preferably put a little bit of anti-seize on there. This has a little bit of it left over. Simply going to rotate it back in, righty-tighty, clockwise. Put the socket back on. Reverse the ratchet so that it's tightening. Now you don't have a torque wrench, so you're going to have to apply a good amount of pressure, but you don't want to strip it, obviously. And lastly, connect the connector. Once you've completed the installation of the forward O2 sensor, remember this particular vehicle has a second sensor. If looking from the front, if you look back a little bit further, about 6 inches back in the center of the screen, you'll see the second spark plug looking device. It's about 6 inches behind the forward sensor, and it's coming in from the driver's side. So put your vehicle up on wheel ramps, make sure the emergency brake is set, and you chalk the vehicle so that it doesn't roll. Then come in from underneath and remove and replace the O2 sensor on the side of the catalytic converter. And when you come back out, you should be able to check when you start the car, make sure that it is relatively cool so you don't burn yourself. And while it's still cool, reach down and just put your fingers around and make sure that you don't have any kind of leakage. If you've secured it tightly, you shouldn't have any problem with leakage, but it's a good idea to check that because, of course, you do have carbon monoxide gases that could come out of that manifold. Last but not least, you want to clear the engine check light. There are some tricks of the trade. Supposedly you can remove the battery and for some period of time and it will delete it. I talked to the folks at the auto shop. They said basically drive the car for about 50 to 60 miles, and if it's the O2 sensor, the computer log inside that remembers will eventually be flushed clean, and when you start it, you should get a good engine. So in this case, I've already driven the 50 miles. I'm going to start it, and the check light that was the cause of all of this is now extinguished.